UK voters would place the blame for a Brexit delay squarely on the shoulders of Parliament, Remain MPs and the EU, a new poll has revealed. As the UK heads towards a general election, Boris Johnson received a huge boost to his electoral chances, as a majority of voters backed his Brexit stance and insistence to leave the EU on the 31st of October. A Comres survey for the Daily Telegraph found that 8 in 10 voters would blame Parliament for any delay to the UK leaving the EU. In the poll, 70% said they would hold Remain MPs responsible, while 63% said the European Commission would have to shoulder the blame. In further good news for the Prime Minister, the same poll showed that he would reap a huge electoral dividend if he points the finger of blame at the establishment for forcing him to ask for an extension. The survey found both Leavers and Remainers blamed Parliament ahead of anyone else for the Brexit impasse, on 94% and 79% respectively. In further signs that the public want Brexit done once and for all, 42% say they would support a no-deal Brexit if the EU fails to agree to a deal by the end of the month. Only 32% say that they are in favour of a further Brexit extension. These results come after the government sought to deflect the blame for the current Brexit impasse onto Brussels. Mr. Johnson's plans have so far been met with a cold shoulder by the EU leaders. Over the weekend, the French President, Emmanuel Macron, who issued the Prime Minister with an ultimatum to come up with plans acceptable to the EU by the end of this week. Downing Street has repeated its calls for Brussels to compromise over its hardline stance towards Britain. A government spokesman told journalists on Monday that the government was ready to have discussions at pace. He added, "For that to happen, the EU needs to engage fully with the proposals we have put forward. The PM believes that we have set out a fair and sensible compromise, and we are now looking to the EU to match the compromises that the UK has made." The EU has rejected out of hand Mr. Johnson's proposal for Northern Ireland to leave the customs union along with the UK. They are adamant that this would necessitate the return to a hard border between the two islands, with border checks and controls. The spokesman insisted that the government would hold its line on this matter. He said, "The PM set out in his letter that this provided a broad landing zone, and we were willing to engage in further discussions on our proposals. But if your question is, are we prepared for Northern Ireland to be in a different customs territory to the UK, the answer is a very firm number." The Prime Minister also called on Brussels to show a more compromising spirit. Commenting on his Brexit plans, the Prime Minister told journalists while visiting a hospital that, "What we are saying to our friends is, this is a very generous, fair and reasonable offer that we have made. What we would like to hear from you now is what your thoughts are, and if you have issues with any of the proposals that we've come up with, then let's get into the detail and discuss them." Earlier today it emerged that Jeremy Corbyn has been given the go-ahead by the Prime Minister to meet with the Cabinet Secretary, Sir Mark Stwell. In a clear sign that a general election is just around the corner, the meeting will allow the leader of the opposition to discuss the framework behind a potential transition of power, in the event of a Labour victory. In bad news for Jeremy Corbyn, opinion polls continue to show him lagging well behind the Tories, suggesting the Prime Minister would win a large majority. On Sunday, a poll published by Opinion for the Observer showed Labour trailing the Conservatives by 15 percentage points. The Comres poll has the Tories holding a 6-point advantage over Labour, with 33% saying they intend to vote for the Conservatives and only 27% for Labour.